What's up, guys? I'm Johnny Phantom, and I talk about all things fandom, such as Disney, Star Wars, Harry Potter, whatever, you name it. And if you love talking about fandom theories and discussions, then you come to the right channel, because that's all I do. So make sure you hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, and let's get into today's discussion / theory. I got a question for you. How is Mickey Mouse, Cthulhu, and Darkwing Duck connected? Let's find out. So I've always been a fan of the Cthulhu Mythos. Cthulhu is one of the great ones created by H.P. Lovecraft, who wrote a ton of great horror stories, short stories, poems. Some of them not so great, but H.P. Lovecraft is an extraordinary writer who wrote the stories about the old ones, who are these gods that basically create the cosmos and rule over everything. And in ancient civilizations, people looked up to these gods and prayed to them. And Cthulhu, of popularity, has just blown up and is probably one of the most iconic of the old ones throughout history. And Cthulhu has popped up in everything and is in it's in a bunch of different games, board games, card games, movies, TV shows. It's in everything. Cthulhu is in everything. Is it in Disney, though? Did Disney have Cthulhu in some of their works? Actually, yes. Well, technically, yes. Let's get into it, though. In 2016, the show Gravity Falls was coming to an end, and there was a 3-part series of the end of the show called Weirdmageddon. In Weirdmageddon episode 1, we see Cthulhu, except they don't call him Cthulhu, they call him C-3-IHU, but he's Cthulhu. I mean, you can see he's Cthulhu here. I don't see why Disney would have done this, because Cthulhu is in the public domain at this point. Maybe they didn't want to just come out and say Cthulhu, but listen, Disney, you put Cthulhu in Gravity Falls, okay? But this is not the first time we've seen Cthulhu in a Disney project. Back in 2011, with the Darkwing Duck comic book produced by Boom Studios, we see a story arc begin called The Foul Disposition. Started with issue number 9 and ended with issue number 12. And in this saga of comic books, we see Cthulhu. Cthulhu doesn't pop up until like the end of 11, and then is basically in 12 throughout the whole story. But Foul Disposition is basically we follow Darkwing Duck fighting against Foul, who is like the crime syndicate in Duckburg, and one of Darkwing Duck's biggest enemies, controlled by Steelbeak. So Steelbeak is working with Foul, and the experiments and these occult rituals, and it's starting to affect Duckburg. We see Launchpad McQuack turn into this octopus duck thing, and then we see other ducks doing the same thing. So what is happening here? Eventually, Steelbeak brings Darkwing to the laboratory, and they find this Cthulhu altar. However, he's not technically a Cthulhu. They strap Darkwing Duck into this altar, and then these foul old one members with these hooded cloaks take out the Necronomicon with the Cthulhu symbol on the front, and they do a ritual on Darkwing Duck. Not a sacrifice ritual, thank God, but they do this ritual nonetheless, and it summons Duckthulu. His name is Duckthulu. He is a duck. And then throughout this comic book series, the rest of the time, we are trying to fight Duckthulu. So Fowl wanted to control the Earth by summoning Duckthulu, one of the great old ones of the cosmos. And this is probably one of Darkwing Duck's most terrifying villains yet. It makes Paddywhack look like a joke. Good thing we have Morgana. Morgana is this witch duck that has an immense amount of superpowers, and she's able to warp reality and create this sitcom TV show to basically control and contain Duckthulu. We don't get to defeat Duckthulu, but we get to contain it by changing what it is of reality. So we see Darkwing Duck in this sitcom. He wakes up, has his coffee with Morgana, and then he answers the door, and we see Duckthulu as a fish salesman. And then something happens where the spell is like technically broken, and then we have to fight Duckthulu again. So we try to fight Duckthulu. Thankfully, Morgana uses her powers and eventually defeats Duckthulu. Before we begin to the rest of this video, quick word from our sponsor. I'll make it quick this time. I know last time was like 3 minute long, but here. Raze Energy Drink, brought to you by Rep Sports. Best damn energy drink you'll ever have. This stuff keeps you awake all day. Zero sugars, zero dyes, full of electrolytes, amino acids, everything you need. Go to repsports.com. That's REPP sports.com. Use coupon code JohnnyHuey and save yourself 15% off. You can also get a ton of other great products like pre-workout mixes and all sorts of cool dietary supplements. So go to repsports.com right now and use coupon code JohnnyHuey. Save yourself 15% off. That's REPP sports.com. So, the fact that the Cthulhu is in 2 Disney projects, I'm hoping to see some more in the future. But the fact that Cthulhu is in Duckburg, and technically he's Duckthulu. So in this reality of Duckburg, Duckthulu is a duck monster because of all things duck in Duckburg. Because in the Darkwing comic books, everybody's a duck. Or a chicken, if you look at Steelbeak. The birds. We have birds. The Duckverse consists of birds, not just ducks. I just mentioned the Duckverse. If you know what the Duckverse is a theory that I created, basically discussing that all the ducks are created. You have Donald Duck, Darkwing Duck, this, that, and I laid out the timelines and figured out that there are 2 separate timelines of Scrooge McDuck when he went off on his adventures as a young Scrooge. Something happened and split those 2 timelines, which created the triplets to be born at a certain time, to create Donald Duck being born at a certain time, and that's why we have the DuckTales, the original DuckTales, and the new DuckTales taking place at 2 separate timelines, because in the first timeline, Scrooge McDuck dies at a certain age, and then in the other timeline, Scrooge Duck dies at an older age. If you want to go check out that video explaining everything, go check it out right there. However, because we have Duckthulu in the Duckverse, Cthulhu is in the Duckverse. Cthulhu is in the Duckverse. This is just... So now I want to try to figure out which timeline this represents. Darkwing Duck comic books are somewhat of their own timeline, so not really going to fit into that timeline of the two main timelines, but we could potentially say that it would connect at some point, since the comic books don't really travel to any of the other backstories. At least the 2011 comic book series that started doesn't necessarily give Darkwing Duck a backstory, which we see in my Darkwing Duck backstory video. He has multiple backstories on how he became a superhero and so on and so forth. Since the comic books don't really fall on that, we could potentially link it into either one of those potential backstories. So, therefore, the comic book could be in the Darkwing Duck backstory, which relates to the original DuckTales, sort of. And it does connect. It does, because I've proven that in this video over here. So, but we do know that Darkwing Duck is real in the new DuckTales. So, if we put DuckTales 2017 in the same timeline as the DuckTales 2011 comic books, which is very closely related in time-wise, Cthulhu fits into the Duckverse. Over and out. I'm making it canon that Cthulhu is an official member of the Duckverse. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you comment down below your thoughts on Cthulhu. Did you know Cthulhu existed? Do you think Cthulhu is a member of the Duckverse? Any other ducks that you want me to talk about that could be potentially members of the Duckverse itself? And also, let me know if we need to see more Cthulhu in the Disney franchise. And potentially more Cthulhu. Make sure you like button, hit the subscribe button, and I'll see you guys next time. But before you go, make sure you check out these videos over here. Hit that join button, because it really helps me a lot, and you get special perks when you do. Go check my Patreon page. I have content on there just for you. Check out my merch store down below. I got a ton of cool designs. Go check them out. Also, I have a Spotify podcast now, so go check that out. All these links will be in the description down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. I'll see you next time.